letter from the Gantry.
It's only a couple of weeks away from what has always been my marker for the start of a new English football season, the skirmish for the Shield. The Charity Shield from 1908 until 2002, the Community Shield since then. Usually, though not always, down the years between the league champions and the FA Cup winners. Therefore, coming up, it's Liverpool against Crystal Palace. It is Palace's first appearance in this fixture, but I have three stories which are woven around Liverpool's involvement, all in years when actually they were the winners. The fixture was switched for the first time to Wembley, the old stadium, of course, in 1974. It was a sensational afternoon. Liverpool participating as FA Cup winners. Keegan, their star. He'd scored 2 of the 3 goals in the stadium the previous May to beat Newcastle United in the Cup final. The champions were Leeds United, captained by the combative Scot Billy Bremner, and now managed for the first time by Brian Clough, a shock appointment given he'd been a very public critic of the way Leeds had been achieving their considerable number of successes at the time. Now, the game finished 1-1. The Shield had been shared in the past, but that year the protocol included a penalty shootout, which Liverpool won. But on the hour, in regulation time, Keegan and Bremner became embroiled in a fight. Both were sent off, and charity was the last word on the lips of the fans in the stadium and the worldwide television audience. Wembley was supposed to give the contest a showpiece gloss. That both dismissed players threw off their shirts as they left the pitch damaged the image even further. Now, my reason for bringing all this up, once again, is to tell you that the following week, ITV were made aware that Kevin wanted to give his side of the story, an exclusive. It would be on the Saturday lunchtime preview programme the following week, On the Ball. I got to know Kevin after his meteoric rise to Anfield from Scunthorpe United, but even so, I was very surprised to be entrusted with doing such a significant interview. Kevin lived in North Wales, a retreat really with his wife Jean, a farming environment. Plenty of privacy, but we were invited in. Whoever had done the interview would have tapped into the deep emotion that English football's young superstar was still feeling several days after the game, and the sense of shame. Kevin couldn't sit still. He had tears in his eyes. He quoted his mentor, his father, in saying, "If you get hit once, you get up and get on with it. But a second time, you cannot let anyone get away with it." The first blow, incidentally, had been a punch from Leeds' Johnny Giles, for which the legendary Irish midfield player staggeringly only received a yellow card. It was an apology couched in explanation. Looking back, it was a very brave decision for Kevin to talk, but he needed to get a lot off his chest. It showed how he wore his heart on his sleeve, even when he wasn't wearing his shirt. Emotion was never far from the surface in his long and distinguished service to football as a player and a manager. Fast forward 8 years, the 1982 Charity Shield pitched Liverpool, then champions, against FA Cup winners Tottenham Hotspur. And it's another interview rather than a commentary tale. I was getting ready to go to Wembley on the Saturday morning when my ITV producer called to tell me that England had announced their captain for the upcoming Ashes series in Australia. I was told the now confirmed skipper might do an interview in the lunch interval that very day in a break in the match he was playing for his county. For my ITV bosses, it would be a real coup to air it on World of Sport, ITV's flagship show, that afternoon. Then I realised why me. The name captain was my old school friend and flatmate from a decade earlier, Bob Willis. Bob had left the flat that we shared in Streatham in South London when he fell out with Surrey and had been on Warwickshire's payroll ever since, though his county championship appearances had been sporadic. But he wasn't going to be in Birmingham on Charity Shield Day. Warwickshire were away to Essex. Despite the chance to catch up with an old pal, I was still thinking Wembley. Chelmsford wasn't that far away. Oh no, go to Colchester, I was told, just that much further. I'd been given enough notice to get there early, hoping that Warwickshire would be batting and that Bob would talk while the game was going on. Midday maybe, and then even from the Garrison ground in more northern Essex, Wembley was doable. No such luck. Bob was in the field. And the cricket Bible, Wisdom, from the following year confirms that Essex had started what became a very long opening partnership. At the lunch break, Warwickshire had sweated with little success. I grabbed Bob as he left the field. I was sure as a mate he would help me out. He loved football too. "I've got the crew ready," I gabbled. "Just a handful of questions, a couple of minutes." Oh, and by the way, congratulations. I've got to eat first, was the somewhat gruff reply. He was in the end as quick as he could be, and I managed to keep my mind on cricket when I did the interview. I reckon I left the ground at 1:35. Estimate of the distance to Wembley was 56 miles. Somehow I was in the stadium before the 3 o'clock kickoff. What a rush! Which was akin to the football headlines the next day. Ian Rush scored the only goal to ensure Liverpool lifted the shield. For the record, Essex made 502. Bob took one for 58. Liverpool won 1-0 again in 1989, beating Arsenal, who only 11 weeks earlier had taken the league title famously from their grasp at Anfield. Peter Beardsley notched the goal, this time just past the half hour. And I was commentating on this occasion. But it was another will I, won't I scenario. The Tyler family had been awaiting the imminent birth of our second child, and a maternity ward in a Dulwich hospital was an increasingly more likely venue for me on Saturday, the 12th of August, 1989. But when I tell you I'm currently choosing a card and a present for the upcoming August the 11th, 36th birthday for Jennifer Daisy Tyler, you know she popped out a day early. The apple of her dad's eye right from the start, which of course she remains. Charity for that edition of The Shield certainly began at home.